There's nothing harder than having to cope with the devastating loss of a loved one.
But as Simon Thomas and Steve Bland have sadly learned, anniversaries and special occasions can be a particularly painful time for those who are grieving.
And as they prepare to mark Mother's Day following the tragic loss of their wives, Simon and Steve are here to share their experiences of coping with bereavement. And welcome, both of you.
Morning.
It was so massively helpful the last time you came on. There were so many people that got so much out of what you were saying. So thank you for coming back, and thank you for coming today.
No problem.
Steve, so for anyone who doesn't know, just a little bit of that story. You lost Gemma very quickly in 2017. You've got Ethan, your young son. You were also dealing with your own mental issues.
Yeah, I was off work. I've been off work for about 3 weeks. I had depression, which I had for the second time. The first time it came out of IVF failing. Well, it didn't fail, it worked, but then Gemma miscarried and I didn't deal with it very well and got depressed. But then this came out of nowhere. September I felt fine, but it came with this anxiety that ended up being crippling. The last time I worked was at Old Trafford. I was covering Man United against Tottenham. I'm having a panic attack in the loo 20 minutes before we're going on air, in bits. The only person who got me through that was picking up the phone and speaking to Gemma. Yeah. So I'd come off work, and so I was off, and she was incredibly worried about me. She'd never seen me like this before, and then as I'm dealing with that, she suddenly falls ill. And as you said, within 3 days, she's gone.
And so there's no time to prepare? Nothing?
No.
For you or for Ethan?
No, literally gets diagnosed, as I mentioned when I came in last year. You know, she gets diagnosed on the Tuesday with acute myeloid leukemia we'd never heard of before. The treatment begins, but then a complication occurs, which the thickness of her blood that acute myeloid leukemia had caused, the doctor said it made her blood almost sludge-like, and so it caused damage in her membranes in her brain, and she ends up with 15 to 20 bleeds on the Friday, and it's gone 8 hours later. So no time to prepare. You know, in terms of Steve's story, they had a long lead-in. Doesn't make it any less painful, of course it doesn't. Literally no time to prepare, and suddenly your world's been flipped upside down in 3 days.
And so, Steve, let's come to your story, because you're a producer for Radio 5 Live. You married Rachel in 2013 and you had son Freddie. And between the two of you and as a family, you decided you were going to fight this and stay as positive as possible. And you did have this time. And I know that the podcast that she did, this award-winning podcast, You, Me and the Big C.
Kind of highs and the lows that she had to present. She couldn't just still present one side. It helped her sort of process it all. And, you know, the reaction that she got and they still get from the podcast now was, you know, such a comfort.
And she also had time to put things in place.
Yeah.
And one of the things that she left behind, and I cannot even begin to imagine how difficult this must have been for her. And even now, holding it for you, it's such a precious, treasured thing. And this is what she wrote. This is for Freddie, a mother's final gift for her son, which for Freddie, as he grows older, this is going to become his most treasured possession, I'm sure. Now, though, he's young. He's 3 years old.
Yeah.
Explaining that to a child.
It's easy to explain to a 3-year-old. You can keep things really, really, really simple. They won't have too many hard questions. Ethan's a bit older, so he'll have a lot harder questions, perhaps. But you can explain things reasonably simply, and then when he's old enough, he'll, you know, get to know his mum through the book, which, you know, I mean, like you, it's just amazing that she was able to do that in the last 2 or 3 months of her life. You know, write 85, 90,000 words.
You wrote your snack notes, didn't you, for Ethan, sort of little notes that he's had every day when he went to school.
Still going.
Yeah, well, and you stopped for a while, didn't you?
I did. And then he said, why have you stopped? And I said, I thought you probably didn't want them anymore. And he said, no, I want them more than ever. So I've carried on doing them, because Ethan has a different understanding of death. He absolutely knows that mum is not coming back. What's been really difficult for me in the last week is beginning to understand and realise that his memories of the everyday with mum are starting to fade. And we were just getting dressed on the landing the other morning, as I'd always done with him. School routine was, I used to take him down for breakfast, because I was lucky enough to be at home most mornings because of the way my work worked out. Then get him dressed. Mum would be getting dressed. She'd do the school run. And I was doing it again with him the other morning, and he just turned to me and said, Daddy, did you always used to get me dressed in the mornings? I said, yeah. And he'd take down for breakfast. He said, when Mummy was alive, did she used to take me in to school? I said, yeah, every day. Sometimes I'd do it. And already, nearly 16 months later, his memories of the day-to-day life with Mum are fading, and that is so hard to hear. And so what I have to do, I can't have a book like this But I have got videos, I've got pictures, and I've got memories I can write down, which I need to do.
You've also got that conversation. He's asking you,
Oh, it's amazing.
talking to you,
Yeah.
and I think that probably that's kind of what you have left, and you've got to keep that communication. You've got to be able to keep talking to him. And I
Is
guess
that what you recommend?
Freddie
Yeah, we
gets
try
that,
as much as possible, really, to talk about Mummy. We look at pictures all the time. We've looked at the book, you know, an awful lot. He absolutely loves the fact he's on the front cover. And he loves seeing his picture in some of the newspapers and things. And we try and just keep it as open as possible, as open and honest as possible, just answer whatever questions he has.
For you also, because of this fabulous, inspiring, honest podcast, everybody got to know her as well. And so you shared her.
Yeah.
Her loss was felt by other people you didn't know.
It's amazing, really. I mean, we were getting messages, we still get them, really, people all over the world who, you know, it's the kind of beauty of radio, I think, and podcasts. They're so intimate, you kind of really feel like you know the people involved. And for Rachel and the girls, they shared so much, and it really touched the nerve with so many people that I think, you know, yeah, people all over the world, Brazil, Germany, you know, the US, all over the place, have really got to know her.
And Simon, you didn't, it's not a podcast, but you've been very open online about what you've been going through as a family. And you've sort of reached out, and you've got a sort of community online, and you all support each other. Were you surprised by that?
Massively surprised, yeah, and I still am at the number of people who will message you. You know, sometimes it's hard because I think when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and you talk about stuff that a lot of people find very different to vocalise, it almost gives them permission to start unloading some of their stuff on you. And I often feel quite bad that I'm not able to respond to everybody who are telling some really hard stuff about loss themselves or illness or mental health problems as well. And as soon as you start reading one comment, you think, well, I've got to reply to that. But I've been amazed just at the level of kind of support, but also how this has tapped into something, because as I said back in February last year, and I still maintain, there's loads of people. I'm doing an event for Marie Curie tonight in London, a panel of us talking about grief. And how our experiences have been, and about why this conversation needs to continue, because whether you like it or not, unless you check out a life early, which I hope no one does, but sadly some do, we're all going to face this at some point. We are going to experience loss.
But you know, this is helping others. You have this amazing book. There's the podcast, what you're doing for Marie Curie. But you still have those milestones that you personally, as a father, have to get through. Mother's Day, the next one coming up. How do you approach something like that?
I mean, we had a couple straight after Rachel died. We had our 5th wedding anniversary about 9 days after she died, and we had Freddie's birthday was 11 days after she died. Then obviously we had our first Christmas, and then her birthday was would have been January. I mean, what can you do? You can either, you have to sort of just crack on, don't you? And as much as it's hard, for me, I miss Rachel, you know, as much as I could possibly do every day. So those days I don't miss her anymore. And it's just an excuse and a reason to celebrate her, and Mother's Day particularly celebrate the amazing mums we've got.
And you're actually involved with the Sunday Mirror search to find inspirational mums ahead of Mother's Day.
Yeah, it's an amazing competition to find, you know, these inspirational mums. And I'm lucky enough, not just Rachel, my own mum, and my sister's mum, to my 2 nieces and a nephew, and the prize, I think you get to have a couple of days in a spa hotel, so it's not too bad.
We're going to put all the details of that
Yeah.
on our website and on our app. How about you for Mother's Day?
Do you know, it's been interesting because I posted this morning that I was coming on here, and a lot of people said, you know, remember that they'll look at us and think, I can understand why it's going to be difficult for you guys, but actually it's difficult for women who've lost children, because Mother's Day becomes very different for them. It's hard for women who crave being a mother but have never been able to. It's hard for lots of different people. We had this amazing story last year. Someone got in touch with me called Dan. And Dan's the father of 3 kids, lives in a lovely farm up in the Cotswolds. And he just wrote this lovely letter to me. And then a few weeks later, he said, I'd like to send a little gift for Eamonn, and he did. But within this big box he sent was this packed lunchbox, fabric, and it just said, to Simon on the top of it. I opened it up. One half is just pretzels, nuts and stuff. I opened the other half out, and there were these tiny little yellow bundles wrapped in green string, and on top it says, even dads need snack notes. Dad had sat down and spent 2 days writing out a snack note for me to last the whole of 2018. And he got in touch with me and said, why don't you come and stay on the farm? So we did. And about 2 weeks out from that, he says, I've just realised it's Mother's Sunday. On the Sunday, the weekend you're here, can we do something for you? And I said, yeah, but I don't know what. And he said, can we turn it into Ethan's Day? And so we made the day about Ethan on the Saturday night on the farm. We lit a lantern. Me and Ethan just sat there, watched it go. We prayed together. We shared memories of Mum. And then the next day, whilst not forgetting Mum, it was about celebrating him. And lots of lovely people gave him little gifts.
That's a great idea. It really is.
Thank you, guys, both of you, very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for coming in today. Thank you very much.